Hello, welcome to Verbling. Hi there, I'm Teacher Oakley, and for the next couple hours we're going to be talking about and practicing job interview questions in an English speaking job interview. Okay, as I used to work as a recruiter, I'm quite familiar with this topic. We're going to start out. Basically, this will be 2 classes in a row here at Verbling, one at this hour, and then the following hour we'll be doing a lot of practice. You, the students who join me here at Verbling, will have plenty of opportunity to practice different question types, which are often posed in job interviews in Western companies. We're going to start out with some basic tips, simple do's and don'ts to follow. Most you probably already know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And discussing the whole idea of a job interview. And I want to share with you a little experience, and you can share some job interview experience with me, practice your English speaking skills, and basically talk about job interviews. Maybe near the end of class we'll get to practice a few basic questions. And then again, as I said earlier, in class 2 of this part 2 consecutive series here at Verbling, we'll do lots of practice. I'll just be asking questions and students will be practicing their response in English. To start off with, some basic tips. Interestingly, there was an experiment which I read about, and which has been since conducted again repetitively to test these ideas. Here it is. Let me outline it for you. Basically, they had the initial experiment, in any case, they had 20 professional human resource department interviewers, professional psychologists, people qualified to do interviews with degrees and okay. They had 20 of these individuals interview something like 200 people, and based on an extensive interview which includes a questionnaire and analysis, etc., of an extended 45-minute interview, I believe. Not sure of that. They had the results. Okay, who will get hired, who won't get hired. Now, they videotaped these interviews with a professional interviewer, and they showed the first minute to a lot of laypersons, just normal, everyday baker, policeman, street cleaner, whoever, just regular people, not people trained to do job interviews. Amazingly, in the laypersons were able to pick corresponding choices, who was hired and who wasn't hired, to the 95th percentile. And they only saw the first minute of the job interview. So what that tells me, actually I believe it was the 98th percentile. It was enormous. By watching 1 minute of the interview, they were so astonished by these findings that they then tested what would happen if we only saw the first 10 seconds of the interview. Believe it or not, they were still in the 90th percentile of picking who would be chosen for the job in the first 10 seconds. They were 90% matching the answers of the people that the professional job interviewers who spent 45 minutes with a detailed report, psychoanalysis, etc., etc. Amazing. So, before we start our job interview practice, the first thing to remember, first impressions are absolutely enormous. And we're going to talk about those first impressions for a little bit. After I say hello to Max. Hi, Max.
Hello, Oakley. Nice to hear you again.
Nice to hear me.
Yes.
My sweet melodic voice. Well, thank you, Max. It's always a pleasure to hear you as well. Okay. Max, do you have a lot of experience with job interviews? A little bit, anyway?
Actually not. I think it's not common in Russia to go to an interview.
Really?
In my city, everybody know me. Who I am and what I can do. And
okay. Fair enough.
I haven't to go in an interview if I need to job.
Well, maybe it's a total Western idea, because even I grew up in a small town as well, and when I was looking for a job in my small town, everybody knew me as well, but an interview was always definitely going to be conducted. Here's the thing. I guess it's Western thinking, American and British thinking, you know, largely European as well. Here's the thing, really. The common practice is to send a resume with a cover letter, perhaps with recommendations, written recommendations. Now, the cover letter is merely to get you, cover letter's point A, it's just to get you interested enough to actually look at the resume. Okay, then the cover letter's never looked at again. It's just the advertisement for the resume. The resume is like the advertisement to get you from point A to point C, which is the interview. It's an advertisement. All right, will they call you to call you in for an interview? That's it. Nobody gets hired just because of their resume. I mean, maybe extremely rarely. Generally, everyone's going to be interviewed, and they will be hired or not hired on the basis of that interview. Now, of course, there could be 2 or even 3 interviews, actually. It's very common to have a series of interviews. But one interview is just to get you to the second. When that happens, the first interview is generally with the HR department. They don't know much about the specific job or how to do the job. They don't know the jargon, the words you use for the job. They're just going to ask general questions. And then the second interview, or perhaps maybe it's the third interview, will be with somebody who really knows the job, and they're going to be much more specific about asking specific questions about that specific job, the tasks that will be done, and how you would handle certain specific problems. In that second interview, you're going to get scenario-based questions. What would you do if the left-hand wrinkle sprocket broke in the middle of the transition of the Alfa Romaic doohickey? I don't know. I'm making up words, but very specific things. And in Western cultures, you're hired on the basis of your interview. At least 90% is your interview, and how you conduct yourself, how the interview goes. So, really, that's it. Once you can ace interviews, you can pretty much get any job you want, quite honestly, in Western society.
The last time when I changed my job, it was very strange for you, I think. It's looks like my boss asked me to get in this job. Please, Max, we need you.
And I have had an interview like that before as well, where the interview was, so this is your resume, and then showed it to me. Okay, when can you start? Okay, that's my interview. All right. It does happen. It does happen. There's, there's definitely exceptions. Every rule has exceptions. Yeah, I've experienced that too. It really blew me away, though, because it really blew me away. I was really quite stunned because I didn't know what to think. Is this for real? Is this a joke? Am I on TV? Is there a secret camera somewhere? I didn't know what was going on, honestly. But yeah, it does happen. I want to welcome Carlos. Hello, Carlos. Carlos, you don't appear to be muted, but I cannot hear you, sir.
Okay. Something
Oops.
was frozen.
I can hear you, Max. I can hear you fine. I couldn't hear Carlos. Come on back, Carlos. Try again. Sometimes if you re-enter the Hangout, it'll work. That actually happens quite frequently, unfortunately. But come on back, Carlos, so you can join us. A little job interview practice. Okay. First impressions of these job interviews is ridiculously important, and so I'm going to go through some of the basics. Some of these things I know, they're completely obvious, but it bears saying for anyone out there watching who has never been to a job interview. First of all, I want to say something. Being good at a job interview takes practice. It is a skill you can learn. It definitely is. If it is worth going to job interviews, if you're new right out of university, it's worth going to job interviews where you don't even want the job. Just practice. So you learn how to be comfortable and confident, first of all, number one, because that is so extremely important. And first impressions are everything, really. You can practice.
But,
if you, Max?
But sometimes first expression, how to say, expression is wrong.
First impression.
Impression, yeah, first impression.
Well, that's true.
I heard one woman said me about it. She heard one person who really can sell yourself. Yeah, but after 1 month, she decided let him off.
That's true.
Lie him off. Because
that's absolutely true.
He is zero in a job.
And that is true, but our objective is to get a job. Yes, you can be good at job interviews, but you can suck at your job.
Yeah.
And many people do. That's why the world is what the world is, Max. Not everyone who gets hired is perfect for the job, and then that's why people change jobs, people get fired. You're absolutely right. First impressions can be wrong, and I hope they are wrong. I hope they don't get I hope they have a perfectly wonderful impression about me if I go to a job interview. I want them to have the best possible impression. I don't want them to know about all my skeletons in my closet. I'm joking, of course, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. Many people get hired who just give a good interview, who are really not good at their jobs. And other people, many others, who may be very, very good at their job, just don't get hired because they don't do a good interview. And that's very unfortunate, but very true. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, actually. So the secret is to be able to fool them. Sell yourself, right? All right. So anyway, first thing is quite obvious. Dress appropriately. Dress appropriately for that job as well. And that goes both ways. If you want a job at a construction site, don't show up in a suit and a tie. You're not likely to get the job. If you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to get a job in a business office, dress in business attire appropriately is the point. And I have worked in a business where it's clearly an office job, and people show up with sandals and blue jeans and a t-shirt. Their likelihood of getting a job is pretty much zero, frankly. Because I worked as a recruiter, and basically it's kind of like showing respect for the company. If you don't respect the company enough to dress up for the interview, well, then you're not going to respect the company. You're not going to be motivated. It's pretty much this is a no-brainer, what we call a no-brainer. Obviously, you need to dress appropriately. Okay, well, that's simple enough. No-brainer. Second one is also a no-brainer, but I'm amazed at how often it happens when I was a recruiter. Never arrive late. Frankly, when I was a recruiter, if you arrive late for your interview, that means you're definitely going to be late for work a lot, and I should not hire you. So instantly, you're 10 minutes late. Okay, you're not hired. That's it. There's no point. One thing you have to remember, especially big companies, they're looking at maybe 50 people every single day. They're not going to remember your name in 10 minutes. You're just a number, really. So if you don't make an impression, or you're late for your first interview, that's a horrible impression, and they don't have time to reconsider. There is no reconsidering in recruiting for a big company. You don't have time, and you don't have emotional or energy level to actually worry about all the people that you don't hire. You can't. You would never sleep at night if you did that. So make sure you're on time. And one piece of advice: make sure you not only do you know the address. Actually, sometimes you know the address, but you can't find the correct door to go in. Go there the day before, so you know exactly what door and what office you're going to. So you know exactly how to get there, so you're not late. Or go really early and bring a newspaper. And if you're an hour, or a good book, it's okay to read a book while you're waiting in the waiting room. All right, and then put it in your bag or something when you get called into the interview. All right. Very simple. Excuse me. Another job interview tip, very, very simple and very stupid, but I've seen, again, as a recruiter, I've seen this many times. Do not bring a drink with you. Don't bring your favorite Starbucks coffee into the interview with you. You don't know what the interviewer's office is going to look like. Are you going to have to put your coffee on a beautiful Persian carpet, which is going to spill and make a big stain? You can't put your coffee on the interviewer's desk. Where are you going to put it? How are you going to shake his hand? The first impression, he's going to stand up, approach you, shake your hand, and ask you to have a seat. If you have a purse or something in your hand, or your resume, and then you have a coffee in this hand, you're going to go through this awkward kind of put this here, put the coffee down, and try to shake hands, and it's going to be awkward, and you're going to be embarrassed, and the interviewer is going to be embarrassed, and not very smooth. Again, the first 10 seconds of a job interview is crucial. If you're juggling coffee and pencils and your resume, not very smooth. Also, don't drink too much coffee, because we all know physically what happens. Jumping around in your seat. Gotta go to the bathroom. Yes, because interviewers are delayed, and you may end up waiting there thinking you're going to get called into the interview any second, and you may have to wait and wait and wait. So, okay, coffee's okay, but don't drink too much. And don't bring it in the interview room. If you have one in the waiting room, ditch it in the waiting room. Just don't bring it into the interview. Same thing with your phone. Absolutely. Sure, you can bring your phone, but make sure it's silenced. It's really bad. Really bad. Obviously, you can't take a phone call in the middle of a job interview. That's just silly. And even if your phone rings, It's awkward. It's disruptive. Shows that your first priority is not the job, it's your social life or whatever. Next tip, which I also see often ignored, which I don't understand, is not knowing anything about the company. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we'll talk about that more in a second after I say hello to Eduardo. Hello, Eduardo. Hi there.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Sorry, teacher?
How are you? How are you today? How are you doing?
It's okay, teacher. I'm fine, thank you. I feel good today.
Great. Very good. Glad to hear it. Okay, Eduardo, and welcome back, Max. We're talking about job interviews,
Yeah,
and
I had some technical issues.
okay, no problem. And I'm giving some tips. I just listed some rather obvious tips. Another, actually very important, is to know something about the company. This is easy. Every company on earth now has a website. Just go to their website. Every website has an About Us page. Check it out. Know a little bit about where their market is, what they do, how they do it, where's their company located, what countries, where's their headquarters, where their main offices, where are divisions.
Yeah.
What is
Just read that
simple?
and use that to butter them up. Butter them up.
Butter them up. Butter them up.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Good phrase. Butter them up a little. And even a point I'm going to make later, there's every good interviewer, at least, will ask at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for me? Or do you have any questions about the company, perhaps? Make sure you have a question about the company, okay? And make sure you have questions to ask. This is the one way to kill a really good interview, actually, is as I worked as a recruiter, literally I've given thousands of interviews to people. And this is one way to kill an interview. You have a very good interview, and then I say, do you have any questions? And you ask something really stupid, which is going to kill the question. Can I get free coffee at work? Okay. Something crazy like that. If you have a very good question, which is actually relevant and it makes sense, that seals the deal. That can be it. That can get you the job. If you don't have a question, that puts everything in doubt. And not sure. Okay, you had no questions. It's best if you have just 2 or 3 questions in mind. Don't grill the interviewer. Don't have 20 questions you want to ask. That's going to waste his or her time, and that's not going to get you the job. But definitely have 1 or 2 questions. And it helps if you know about the company, and then you can ask a good question. Okay. Eduardo, have you had many job interviews?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Have you had any job interviews?
Yes, teacher. I had many interviewed to take a job. Okay, I am looking for a new employer, but today they hired 2 employees. And sorry, I'm from Chile, teacher. I am a lawyer.
Okay.
Always they are job to lawyers.
Ah. Oh, you're a lawyer?
Yes, teacher. Yes, yes. I am lawyer. A lawyer.
Okay, I see. From Chile. Okay, well, welcome to the class.
Thank you. Thank you, teacher.
Okay. All right. If you Eduardo or Max, if you guys can interrupt me anytime. We're gonna get to practice questions in just maybe 5 minutes. But if you have a question about any of these tips, please just jump in and ask me. Another thing. Oh, okay. And this brings up. This is a couple of points here. Many people do this. They make a resume or CV, curriculum vitae, same thing, whatever you want to call it. And they write one and they spend a lot of time and they agonize over details. And anyway, they write this CV and they're satisfied and they say, yes, I've done it. And then they basically, like cards, they print out copies of the CV or email copies of the CV to different companies, but they send every company the same exact resume. Actually, and every job, maybe they're slightly different jobs, all right? Maybe, maybe there's slightly different aspects. One is a legal researcher, one's a legal assistant, one is a tax lawyer, one is a corporate law lawyer, but those are 4 different jobs. And if you send the same resume to 4 different jobs, maybe one of them will actually match the job, but 3 of them won't at all. You have to rewrite your resume for each company. Really, you should. It's excellent advice. That being the case, before your interview, you should definitely review the resume that you submitted for that job and make sure you know all the details. Some interviewers work off the resume and they ask you a lot of questions about the resume. Some will not even ask you anything about the resume. Most are some mix in between. But just in case, you have to know that you have to be able to relate the information on the resume that you gave to that company. You don't want to be fudging facts or dates even. If you get dates wrong, they start to wonder, well, did he really work in this place? So make sure you memorize your you know your resume well enough. But of course, right from the beginning, obviously, if you don't make up facts on your resume, you won't have to make up facts in the interview. So it's best, honesty is the best policy. It's a lot easier for you. And it's going to be apparent to the interviewer. Pay attention to the interviewer. And by that, I don't mean obviously pay attention and listen and answer the questions, but show you're paying attention with body language. Lean forward slightly. Do this with your eyebrows. Open up your eyes slightly. Nod. Nod your head. Nod your head. Okay, very simple.
No verb.
Sorry?
Non-verb conversation.
What's that?
Non-verb?
Non-verbal.
Non-verbal.
Yeah.
Non-verbal conversation.
Yeah. Non-verb conversation, kind of hard. If you
use only noun.
Verb, only nouns and adjectives and adverbs, but no verbs. That would be very challenging. Yes, indeed. Hi, how you? Instead of are you? Okay.
Sorry. Normally, we lawyers are verbose.
Verbose? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, you are. That is your job, right? Right. But make sure you're listening well as well. You're listening to the interviewer. Some interviewers are like normal people. Some of them like to hear their own voice. So you have to pretend you like to hear their voice too. And show you're listening through simple nonverbal, as Max said, nonverbal Communication, yes. Okay. Yeah, you definitely need to stay focused, keep your energy focused. Sometimes, I don't know, I've never experienced this, but I've heard it from other people. Sometimes people will do interviews in public places. I think they do that on purpose, like over lunch or something like that, or having a coffee somewhere. I would hate to do that. You know, being an interviewer myself, I would not be able to handle the distraction. But that may be done, which is going to make it much harder, of course. Actually, I have been interviewed that way for a promotion within my own company. Come to think of it, I have experienced that before. Now that I think about it, what were they trying to do? Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Okay, communication. This goes for sales or anything else, or for Eduardo over here, who's admittedly verbose. Good word, by the way, verbose, talkative. Don't talk too much in an interview. Try to answer the question. Make sure you answer the question, but to try to stay on point. Remind yourself what the question is and don't go off topic, much like taking an IELTS or a TOEFL test. Stay on topic. Don't get sidetracked with personal life things unless you're directly asked about personal life things. I mean, then, yeah, it's perfectly okay if your interviewer says, did you see the baseball game last night? If you didn't, you didn't. If you did, yeah, you could say, yeah, I couldn't believe the home run in the 4th inning. It was unbelievable. The ball went a mile. That's great. You're building a rapport, and that's okay, but you're going to key off what the interviewer says. So keep it professional, keep it succinct, shortened, and directly answering the question. Okay. Yeah, okay, well, that point is extremely... be ready to practice. Practice with your wife, your mother, whoever. Practice interview questions at home. Again, I said this at the beginning of the class, this is a skill. It can be learned. And you wouldn't play basketball against Michael Jordan without practicing. So you do need to practice. And last tip I'm going to give, and then we'll do a little practice. Last tip, stay positive. Positive, 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 positive. Positive words, positive attitude, positive body language. It's all about being positive. Do not, in other words, just do not say bad things about your last boss or your last company. Many interviewers will ask you trap questions to try to get you to say bad things, to try to trick you into saying bad things, but you should try to avoid that. Definitely. You can usually avoid that by saying things like, well, we occasionally had problems, but I found if we talked about them and actually brought those problems out into the open and had a dialogue and discussed our concerns, that eventually we could, push through that problem. We could find solutions that were mutually beneficial for my boss and I, and then that's it. And fortunately, even when I had problems with my boss, once they're worked out, it was water under the bridge. Nobody holds a grudge, and you move on and you continue to try to improve your working relationship as well as improve your ability to do the job. And there you go. There's a good answer. Okay? Talking about solutions, the positive things. If you mention negative, keep it basically as neutral as you can, and then always talk about how you can make it better. Definitely positive. Another study that because this area really interests me, actually. Another very interesting study I read about, and actually I saw it later on television in a documentary. Very interesting psychology. They had twin sisters, identical twins who look exactly the same, dressed identically, business professional. Pardon me. And they interviewed for a job, and basically, again, first impressions are so important. The first question was, how would your fellow employees, how would your coworkers describe you? And the first twin A, let's call her twin A, said, well, I'm very hardworking, and I'm a real team player. Sometimes I can be a little nitpicky, and sometimes I'm a little critical of my fellow employees. Okay, fair enough. Her twin sister B, shall we call her, said, well, asked this very same question, how would your coworkers describe you? She said, my coworkers would say I'm nitpicky and I'm kind of critical of what they're doing. But really, I'm very hardworking, and I do work well with others, for the most part. Okay, so she said negative first and then positive. Amazingly, every single interviewer picked A. Why? Simply because any longer answer than 30 seconds, the listener starts to tune out. They start to not pay as much attention unless they hear some real bell that calls their attention, but blah, 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 blah. So the one who speaks positive with the first things is the one who's going to get hired. So think about that if you get a trap question in an interview. Okay, what's the worst thing about your company? Instead of saying, well, the worst thing is, and then talking about something very negative, is that my boss is an idiot. Okay, that would be the worst thing. Well, that's not a good start. Start out with a positive. Well, for the most part, things were actually quite harmonious there. Things went pretty smoothly there. Upon occasion, we would run into a few small issues. Don't say problems. Say challenges. Say issues. Don't say negative words like problems, trouble, danger, hazard. These are very negative. Just do not use them in an interview. Don't use them at all. They are challenges, issues. Okay, personality conflicts, maybe. Not I hate his guts. We had a personality conflict. Okay, it's much better. And remember that this is a very common tactic in interviews, at least for English speakers, is they try to trick you into saying negative things. So be prepared for it. Be ready to know how you're going to handle it. Okay, I'm sick of talking. I'm sick of the sound of my own voice. So Max or anybody else?
Sick and tired.
I'm sick and tired of my own voice. I really am.
I heard about one guy. He print out pink resume just to cut through the clutter.
I hate that. I see, but Max, okay, that's maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, that's interesting, and I don't actually have an answer. I will share with you a story though about exactly such an experience. When I worked in a team of recruiters, there was a team of us, okay, and we would get all the resumes, and who are we going to call for an interview. This was the way we did it is we'd go through the resumes,
And
we had,
something.
right, and I would pick
You
away
hear
my.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we pick out the resumes that we didn't want and the resumes that we did want. But then we'd have a second person look at it in case for whatever reason, whatever, I'm having a bad day, I fought with my wife. So two people at least on the team would look at the resumes and they'd pick the ones they want and the ones they don't want. I swear to you, every time I saw a pink resume, I saw like a silver embossed resume, like silver design. Must have been very expensive.
You've ever seen like some kind of mind map? Do you know what it is? Mind map card.
Well, what do you mean by that?
It's some kind of in the center, in the middle. For example,
A circle and then
yeah.
on the sides.
Yes. Mind map.
Yeah, that's it. I know that, but it's a technique for writing, for brainstorming, for writing that I often teach, actually. But you mean a resume written like that?
Yeah. A resume like that.
I have never seen that.
I think about it. I think it's interesting.
It's interesting. I really don't know how to react to that or how I would react. Depends how confusing or how clear or how confusing would it be? I don't know. I've never seen one, so I don't know if it would be very easy to interpret instantly or would I just be puzzled after 5 minutes. And here's the key. A resume should be after. They're never going to read your whole resume. Let me just tell you that right now. That doesn't happen in real life. They don't. They look at the top. They look at they scan down. Oh, they probably going to look at your last job you have, maybe the next one. Education, they'll just see where you went to university, and that's it. Any extra achievements, they may or may not even see. Which is why a resume should basically be 1 page, maybe 2. Anyway, back to your pink resume. I would always throw those colored resumes into the no way pile. But then I had a female coworker who would always pick out the pretty pink and silver or whatever. She would always pick them every single time. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a male-female thing. I'm not sure. But as far as I'm concerned, it didn't help at all. It was an instant no way. They're more concerned.
Sorry, I've not been hear you for last minute.
Really?
Sorry.
Talking to myself. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'm talking for the recording anyway, so they're getting the point. I would not recommend a pink or colored resume. Okay. For me, it shows that you're more concerned with style over substance. As an interviewer, everything boils down to something very, very simple. I may ask you 10 questions, 6 questions, 10 questions, 6 to 12 questions probably, but all I really care about, the only thing I care about really is 1, are you motivated to do the job? Are you going to come to work on time? And are you going to come to work every day? Do you need to make money? Are you fantastically wealthy and it doesn't matter? Do you not even care if you have a job or not? Do you go 2 years between jobs because you don't really care? You don't have to have a job. In which case, you have zero motivation, and I really don't need you. You're motivated. You want to join the company so you can work your way up in the company. That's good. 2. Basically, can you make money for the company? That's it. And you make money by the company by saving them money if you're in a supporting role like the HR department or something, or security or whatever. Are you going to save the company money? Are you going to make them money? That's all I care about. And that's it. That's all that matters. I don't care about your personality. I don't even care if you work well with others, to tell you the truth. I don't care if you're a good team worker. Maybe you want to work by yourself in a dark closet I really don't care if you're going to make if you're going to make money for the company and you're going to come to work every day. Well, then terrific. You know, I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course. If you have to work on a team and that's part of your job, and you're totally antisocial, obviously, then that means you're not going to be able to make money because you won't be able to work with a team. But it still boils down to the same thing. Anyway, so don't be too shy. If you're interviewing with a Western company, don't. The other thing is, especially Asians, but many other people, are very shy. They don't want to seem like they're egotistical, egomaniac, narcissistic, you know, in love with themselves. But it is perfectly okay. In fact, you should talk about things you did at work. I saved the company, you know, $50,000 on this project. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Now, try to, obviously, again, you're going to be answering the questions the interviewer asks you, so you have to frame your bragging. You have to frame it in terms of the question. Yeah.
Carry out my project at the time.
Yeah, and be specific. Just actually, Max, just like IELTS, the more specific you are, the better. Anybody can say, I always finish my projects on time. It sounds much better to say, anybody can say that, whether they do or don't, and it's easy to say. Much better to say, I always, yeah, that's it. My last project, even my immediate supervisor said, you know, we seriously don't think that you can accomplish this by the deadline. But not only did I accomplish it by the deadline, I had it ready for peer review a week before the deadline. In fact, I have never been late on a deadline for any of my projects. Okay. Whatever.
The bottom line is butter them up.
Yeah.
What they need to hear.
Say what they need to hear, but yeah, what they need to hear is that you can make money for the company and that you're motivated and you're going to come to work every day. Because to tell you the truth, a really big company, that's all the recruiter or the HR department cares about. All right? That's all they care about. Different companies may have different things. If you have no motivation, maybe you won't finish training. And that reflects on the recruiters. They have metrics too. And you definitely, it kills your metrics when you hire trainees and the trainees don't finish training, because that costs the company a lot of money. Training costs an unbelievable amount of money in a big company. So they need to have somebody who's very motivated, because all they have to do is, it shows on their metrics, did they hire the employee, did they make it through training, did they make it through 6 months, and were they hired with a permanent contract? After that, who cares? It's no longer on their metrics. So that's really what the recruiters are usually worried about. Am I hiring somebody who's going to last for 6 months? That's it. That's all they care about, at least in my experience. It's going to be different companies, but
I hear you work as a chief, in a call chef, in a call center, like
that's
a recruiter.
That's true. Yeah, I've worn
English teacher.
An English teacher. I've worn a number of different hats. Yes, I've had a lot of different jobs, for sure.
It's interesting to have a lot of experience.
Indeed. There's also a few things that I only did for a little while. I built docks in Canada for 4 months, I think, about short time.
What do you mean by saying build docks?
Build docks, piers, and docks. Build. You know what a dock is, or a pier?
Okay, yeah, I understand.
In the water.
I hear dog.
No. Yeah, I build docks. A biological laboratory. I built dogs. No, built docks. I did a lot of different things. I've done maintenance in a hotel. I've done construction work, this and that. Landscaping. Worked in the landscaping. I've done all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Marketing.
If you would write your resume, you will not write the all of job you work.
No, most certainly. In fact, in my
It's
files,
unnecessary. It's
in
wrong.
my files right now, I have at least 3 separate resumes. One for teaching, one for marketing, and one for business process outsourcing work.
Yeah, I think it's
They're
right.
totally different. They don't even list the same jobs on each resume.
If people would know you work very, very different job, they would be think you are not professional in one special job.
Most people now, I found that most second language speakers think that, and many cultures think around the world think that. Oh, you have different kinds of jobs, you must not be a true professional. Actually, Westerners think that is a benefit. They think that is a giant plus. That's actually a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, it shows
America, Canada.
That's a good thing. And Europe.
The first time I hear it. Really.
It shows a range of experience. It shows the ability to do completely different jobs. It shows the ability to think about working in different ways. It shows that you're very, very flexible. And actually, that's the fact that that shows that you could probably deal with problems very, very well because you have a different perspective. Also, you're not going to have the same cookie cutter right out of university. This is what you were trained to do. This is what you've done all your life. So you only have one way to think about it. So if you've had many different jobs, oh, you worked in marketing. Oh, you worked in the service industry. Oh, you worked as a blue-collar job. Wow, okay. That tells me you probably have different ways to think about things that my normal university to employee for 10 years employed just don't have. They can't think that way. So actually it's a good thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I still don't list that in my resume. Or I may. I can't say that. I may. It depends. You know, if suddenly I wanted to get a chef job and I know they want to hire a chef because their business has been falling off. We want to hire a new, innovative chef who can be creative and build brand loyalty. Okay, this is what I know. Well, now I might actually list that I was a marketer. Oh, you did some marketing, so you know how advertising works. What we're trying to do is market a new chef to get to build our business. Well, then I would include that on my chef resume. I cut and paste it in there because I know this specific company wants to hire a chef for the marketing value. There you go. It fits. So another place that needs a chef, maybe they have no desire. They have a long-standing business, or it's really back of the house, something where then I would not include it. So it depends. Does it actually fit somehow with what they're looking for? Salesman job, I included. I also managed a restaurant, so I included my restaurant management job for my BPO application because that might include sales. Well, great. Obviously, working in the hotel restaurant business is service industry, so they want customer service trainers. When I applied for a customer service trainer job, great. I worked in restaurants for many, many years. That's all customer service. That's what it is. So, yeah, got the job. Even though I had no direct customer service experience. It's related. It's related. It's definitely related. So Think about it. You have to think about those things. So sometimes, yes, it may be. Let's try a question, Max.
I think I'm not ready.
You're not ready.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. All right. Talking about whatever your job is. All right. Well, we'll start with that one later. Okay. What have you done to improve your knowledge in your field in the last year?
In the last year, I don't know. Every day is new lesson for me. Really, really.
Well, you're doing
Every
one of them
day
now.
I'm take classes of English in Verbling.
Yes.
Because I think English is very, very. I forget this word in English. Important for my job, for my career growth. Something like that.
Well, there you go. Important. Another good word, integral. Meaning integral means really, really important, specifically important.
Integral.
Yeah. Okay. What have you done to improve? Yeah, you could say, of course, anything directly, workshops, leadership courses, even go to one lecture. I attended a salesmanship lecture last year in Manila. Really, anything.
It doesn't matter what.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be a formal thing. Well, I've been teaching myself to do programming, basic programming, by taking an online course. I take online courses in English to improve my ability to communicate in the workplace, and say it like that, to improve my ability to communicate in the workplace. So you make it sound like you're doing it for.
Who asked this question only know I do something, nothing.
That's right.
Nothing, yeah, doesn't care what.
That's right. Why are they asking? Because that shows you're motivated.
Yeah, to grow.
You're motivated to grow. That means you're gonna. Very simple. Translated. Okay, they're gonna show up every day. Thank you. Which is all you care about. They're not going to get fired before their 6 months are up, and I get my bonus for hiring 100 good hires or whatever. Yeah, exactly. That's all about motivation. Yeah, so you can say anything. I'm learning new software, office software at home. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're doing something.
It depends on which. Actually work I want to hear. For example, if I want to be chef, and I told about I take classes for new program language.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter.
Probably not related. That's right. But some things may be surprisingly related. For example, I take spinning classes. I take Tai Chi classes at the local gymnasium so that I can better relax and think calmly and rationally at my workplace. It keeps me much more stress-free in the workplace. Okay, those are Tai Chi classes, physical fitness classes. Great. How do they relate to work? They do. They keep you calmer, healthier. You're going to be healthier, so you're going to be able to go to work. You're not going to have sick days. So, yeah, programming classes for being a chef, that's a little out there. But
Yeah.
learning new office software for being a chef is very much you definitely need, actually, for sure. You know, a chef has to do all kinds of Excel charts and reports and sales projections, blah blah blah. So you might be surprised what may be relevant. Oh, done it again. We're over time. I have to
Okay.
go. Next class coming right up here at Verbling with me. Lots of
Okay.
practice.
Bye.
Practice interview questions. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.